guys, what's up? It is Joza here, and today I'm talking to you about the 10 most frequently asked, kind of personal, all up in my business, share the tea with you questions that I get about living in South Korea, especially as a woman of color, especially as a Black woman. I'm sharing these with you. I have my notes here, so if you see me looking at them, that's what I'm looking at. Let's get right into it. We don't have time to waste. Number one says, what did the women treat you like in Korea? That's a good question. I don't think I've ever got that question before. You know what? Here's the thing. Korean women are very sweet and beautiful and kind, most of them. The older generation Korean women, I got a lot of like scoffs from, like looks, some of the older generation, but the younger generation that was around my age or younger treated me cool. Like everybody was very, very kind to me and sweet. Now here's what I will say. Korea is a country where you save face. Even if you don't like someone, you could think that someone's gross, or you could think that you want to punch them in the face, and Korean women, men won't show it. It's very rare that you see someone showing that kind of emotion, crying in public or being so angry unless they're drunk. And so what I'm saying is I don't know that a ton of the interactions I went through, if they were genuine, women that really just liked me and treated me well, or because they wanted to save face, they wanted to just be polite because that was what's culturally acceptable. But I never had really any bad experiences other than some of the older generation being kind of, iffy to me at times. All right, question number 2. What was your biggest insecurity in South Korea? Whew. Okay, I can't just choose one. I had 3. You heard that right, 3. I had 3. Okay, so I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget the order. The first one was my body shape. Now, in America, people like my body shape. It's very curvy, slim, thick type of curvy shape. But in Korea, there's a standard of beauty that's very different from what I'm used to seeing in terms of beauty. Therefore, a lot of people, I have a big bum or you have curves, they will over-sexualize that type of body, especially if you have boobies or you wear cleavage and stuff like that. It's kind of taboo to wear cleavage anyway, so I don't really wear that. So even if you don't wear those things, Korea will kind of sexualize your body if it's a certain type. And that just happened to be what my type was. So I felt very uncomfortable most of the time because at the time that I was, the longest stint that I lived in Korea, I had lost weight. And even with losing weight, I had lost like 30, 40 pounds. Even with losing weight, people still considered me fat. And so it really did a mind warp because I was like, yo, like I'm so much thinner, but like I'm still not considered thin or, pretty in terms of the Korean culture. So that was something that really played a heavy role on my self-confidence. Another thing was my hair texture. Oh man, y'all, we about to get into it. So I have like 4B, 4C hair. And ooh, my hair is just doing its own thing. That's exactly what it would do in Korea, y'all. Just right here, what it's doing. I'm gonna leave it. This is little Pearl. We're gonna call her Pearl. Hey girl. So Pearl, if I didn't have a straightener back then in Korea, I can't do it, y'all. I have to tuck her in. Pearl's doing her own thing. I didn't have a straightener and I wasn't straightening my hair back when I was in Korea. So I either had to wear wigs, I wore weaves, or I braided my hair. The problem with the braiding is if you don't know the climate, your hair will break, and that's exactly what happened to me. Some of it's the hard water that you get from the showering system, some of it's climate. So if I had my hair in braids for a long time, that's something that I would notice that my hair was breaking off, and I'm like, bruh, oh. So, but if I wore my natural hair, people would literally out loud be like, I don't like your hair. You mean the hair that God gave me that's growing out of my scalp? How am I not supposed to internalize that when you have multiple people saying, oh, we like your hair better when it's straight or when it's long or, you know, whatever. So I could not, I won't say could not. I had a very difficult time learning to love my hair while I was in Korea because it was so unacceptable to have kinky, curly, coily hair. So for me, I was like, oh, all right, man, like, okay. So that was something where I was like, man, like I really, your girl was hurt by that. But you know, you just learn and you get it, you get better. You know, now I really enjoy my natural hair. I enjoy wigs and weaves too, but my natural hair is something I really took a long time to get to love. And so I enjoy being able to share it, even if it's just sharing it with myself. There's one more insecurity I have to share it. Stretch marks and cellulite. Y'all, I would never wear dresses that would show my cellulite or my stretch marks because that is not something that you see a ton of in South Korea. I'm just being honest. I saw a lot of women who have mosquito bites that turn into scars. That you see a lot. I mean, all over your legs. I didn't get bit like that. I did get bit up, but not like that. So you'll see scars and stuff, but there's not a lot of women that I have seen. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm saying from personal experience, I haven't seen it. Women who have stretch marks or cellulite. And my stretch marks and cellulite are visible, okay? And so I just was really insecure about it the whole time in Korea. I remember, and I think this video is on TikTok. I will post it in the comments or in the description where I talked about how I went to a what was it? I went to a water park with my school one day, like the day before. They were like, oh, tomorrow we're going to water park, so bring your bathing suit. And I was like, what? Like, okay. And so I'm gonna tag the video down there. Look for the video water park. It's a TikTok video. Oh my gosh. That was the first time I was touched by a young child because they had never seen stretch marks and it was awkward and weird. I can't get into it now, but if you want to see it, look in the description because it's there. Okay, next. Here we go. Number 3 was it hard to learn Korean? I was dedicated, y'all. When I first started learning Korean, there were not a lot of people who were learning Korean who looked like me. I think Talk to Me in Korean had just started. There weren't that many materials. And because I was determined, I literally studied, I think I was it was summertime because I didn't have a job. I don't know what I was doing. I can't remember. But I literally studied 6 hours a day. I would wake up in the morning, I would, do my, cleaning and all that stuff, and then I would study for 6 hours every day. I'd go to the library, I'd sit at home, I'd listen to stuff while I was driving. So for me, I can say that it was not difficult because I took a lot of time to actually study. Like, I didn't want to move to Korea and not be able to engage with people. I'm just too much of a people person to do that. So using things like Talk to Me in Korean, using textbooks. I have a video actually. I think it's gonna be on one of these sides, but it is basically the video that talks about how I learned Korean in 3 months. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that if you're interested in learning Korean. I'm also excited to tell you guys that I'm dropping a JozaWorld Korean lessons because a lot of y'all who know me know that I started teaching Korean on TikTok. That was how I first started. So I'm actually putting out a course, a Korean course, where you can hang out with me, learn Korean, and really up your game for, whenever you go to Korea, whether you go with me on my tours or you go by yourself or with your friends. So if you're trying to learn Korean in 2025, 2026, whenever you see this video, I got you, okay? So I will be dropping the Korean lessons in January 2025. So make sure you have your notifications and all that stuff on so you know exactly when it is dropping. And also watch that video for some tips on how you can learn Korean quick. Okay, so number 4. Number 4 was, did you experience racism in Korea? I've answered this question probably 50 times. yes and no. I think in Korea, and I believe that some Koreans probably also experience this, I experienced racism. There were moments, but it wasn't, how do I say, it's not rooted in the same type of hatred that like racism is rooted in America. I don't know if that makes sense, because people are not aware fully of what they're doing. In Korea, it was more so like colorism or prejudice, where, you know, taxi drivers wouldn't pick me up, or until they heard that I spoke Korean, and even then they would try to jack the prices up because I'm a foreigner and I'm a black woman. And but also with that, and I just want to make this clear, you can be harassed for being black and it's not racism. Like, I was harassed by a few people while I was in Korea. One was a taxi driver that was taking me from Incheon airport to Seoul, and he was basically saying a bunch of gross stuff. I don't know if it's still on this page or not, but he was basically, you know, talking about how he liked black women and the taste of them and smell and all this stuff. He sniffed me when I got out of the car. He was like, "You smell so good." This is an older Korean man, but because I'm a foreigner and because I'm a black woman and he perceives that I am okay with it because we're open-minded, supposedly, I was just like, okay, I'm experiencing this specifically because I am a foreigner, because I'm a black woman. And that's something that you're gonna experience. The other thing was a girl at my school who was I think she was a teacher, I can't remember, or she worked in the office. But every time I see her, she just like pat my butt. Like, excuse you? Like, I don't know you like that. And at the same time, even if I did, don't touch my body parts. You don't know me like that. Like, it was so awkward. But because I'm, you know, a foreigner and oh, it's just fun and games. No, you have to make sure if you're in Korea or you've been to Korea or you're going, don't let people slide with that kind of stuff. Definitely don't be a meanie about it, but definitely speak your piece, speak up about it, because racism and also harassment are two things that you can run into while you're in South Korea, especially if you're a woman of color or a black woman like myself. Really quick, you guys, there's somebody at the door, but in the meantime, watch this quick video about my tours.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Travel the world with me. Check out JozaWorldTours.com to find out how you and I can travel to South Korea, to Thailand, and to Japan in 2025 and beyond. I add new tour destinations every year, so I can't wait to see you there. Check it out today.
Besties, you still there? Okay, I think you are. Hi, welcome back. All right, so really quick, the next question that I always get is, what's one tip you wish you would have known before going to Korea? This is one that you might not experience a ton if you are simply visiting, but if you're going to move to Korea, it's something it seems so small. Learn the trash system, the garbage system. Because in America, we don't separate our trash. I've never lived in a place that separated food waste from, you know, we do like recycling, but there they recycle. They also, you cannot throw food and, you know, regular waste together. There's different bags for each one. You can only use certain bags from certain areas. So if you live in Gangnam, you can't use a bag that's from Itaewon. So learn the system. Wherever you're gonna go live, ask them, where do I take the trash out? Even if you're going to like an Airbnb or something like that, the only place you probably wouldn't experience this is at a hotel. But if you're going to an Airbnb or something, just double check, because I've had many a nights where I've had to figure out, okay, how do I get rid of this trash? Like, where do I go? What do I do? And it's very frustrating. So I wish that somebody would have explained it to me more, because people, I think they get there and they just assume that the trash system, like myself, is similar to America. And also, a lot of Koreans don't realize how different it is for us, so they don't take time to explain it. So ask questions. So I wish that I would have known that ahead of time, and I would have asked more questions, because that would have saved me months of frustration, to be honest. All right, so the next question is, who are your favorite Korean entertainers? I have a few. I am forever a diehard SHINee fan. That was the first group I ever saw their music. I will always be a fan. Junghyun, rest in peace. I will always be a fan. Even with all the new musicians coming out and stuff, SHINee is my number one. I will always stand them. So SHINee is number one. I also like the actor Lee Dong-wook. I think he is great. And I like the actor Kang Ha-neul. He's great too. As far as music, BTS is cool, Jungkook is cool. They're not my super favorite. And that's just, because I haven't heard a bunch of their stuff, but the stuff I have heard, pretty great. Yeah, but SHINee is my number one. Taemin, yep. Onu, yep. Minho, I guess I should say Key too, Key. So yeah, those are my pretty much my favorite. I'm curious what yours would be. Like, do you guys have favorites? Please, in the comments, let me know who your favorite Korean entertainers are. It could be actors, singers, models, whatever. Just let me know, because I'm kind of curious. I want to know what people are really liking these days. So that would be fun to kind of hear about. So comment down below. Comment down below. This next question I get so much. Do Korean men like black women? The short answer, yes. Men are men first, regardless of where they're from, whether you're Korean, whether you're African, wherever, Italian. If you're an attractive person conventionally, people are going to notice regardless of wherever you go, black, white, Asian, whatever race you are. There's a stigma, I'm assuming, because this is why this question comes up a lot, that if you are a black woman, that Asian men or men, of Asian descent won't like you. I don't know where that comes from, because I've never felt that at all. So, yeah, I don't think that that's true, and that's something that I have never experienced. So, all right, I've lost count, y'all. So the next question is, what's something you experienced often in Korea? Okay. Staring. People stared all the time, and that's a thing. That's something that never changes, because there's always somebody who hasn't ever met you before, hasn't seen you before, who's curious about you. I just made a video on TikTok that talked about this, how it was really hard to live there because you couldn't be anonymous at all. You had to really kind of talk to people and engage all the time, and sometimes you just didn't feel like it. So that was a little bit uncomfortable. I am used to the staring now. It doesn't bother me as much, but still, having people stare at you and kind of scrutinize you with their eyes sometimes can be a little bit, if you're shy and things like that. So I would say that that's definitely something that I experienced on a daily basis, every day, up until the day that I still experience it now, because I go to Korea every year, multiple times a year, and that's still something that I experience. It's not as, no, it's still as bad. It's still, people do it all the time. People literally will watch you walk and turn with you. It's like that. So staring, that's something I've experienced a lot of in South Korea. All right, so the next question that I often get is, how can I teach English in South Korea? A lot of you guys know that I started out teaching English with the TALK program, TALK, which is no longer actually a program. Now I think there's an EPIK program, EPIK. That's a program that you can look into, and I'll put the links in the description box. I'm actually gonna write that down so I don't forget. So basically, all you need to teach English in South Korea is a degree. It doesn't have to be an education or anything like that, but you do need to have a 4-year college degree from a reputable college. And then it's just a process. I have used this site every time I've ever tried to find a job in Korea. I use Dave's ESL Cafe. I'll also link it below. And that's been the site that's I've used to get my jobs. I typically do not go through recruiters. You can, but I've never had an experience with a recruiter. I've always just applied directly to the school. You just want to have your resume, you want to have a photo. If you don't have a ton of teaching experience and you want to start getting some of that, maybe take a TESOL or a TOEFL course that will help. I know they do job placement for that kind of stuff as well. Teaching English in Korea can come with benefits, but it also can be kind of hard because depending on what sector you work in, whether it's like young kids, kindergarten, or you work in a high school, you will definitely need more credentials if you're trying to work in a higher education facility, but they have the best benefits. So the higher you go, you get the best benefits. I had a friend who was a professor at a university and she only worked like 15 hours a week. And it was teaching college students English. So it wasn't, these are people who speak English pretty fluently already. So you just have to kind of take a look. So I would start, if you're planning on maybe one day teaching in Korea, get a TESOL or a TOEFL certificate that shows that you studied how to teach English, and also have a good resume. They have like places like canva.com that you could use to make your resume a bit better. I always suggest having a photo on your resume that looks like you, because you're gonna have to have an interview. And in that interview, they don't want to see a person that looks nothing like you. So I would highly recommend not using tons of filters and stuff. That might definitely change the way that they see you. What else? Yeah, so I would say looking on Dave's ESL Cafe was one of the best things that I did, because that's how I found 90% of my jobs after I worked for the talk program. So if you're interested in that and you have questions, definitely shoot me a comment down below and I can answer more about it. A lot of my following doesn't really ask tons of questions about that, but I have gotten it a few times, so I thought I'd answer it here. All right, so the next question is something that I'm excited to talk about, because I don't think I've talked about this a ton while talking about Korea. The question is, what was something that surprised you about South Korea? You know what? When you go to Korea or places like that and you live there, it's a very transitory place. Like, people are coming, foreigners are coming, people are going. It just is what it is. One thing that I was surprised about was the amount of foreigners that I met. a few things. The amount of foreigners I met that were not foreigner friendly, like would literally ignore you. And I don't know, if I see someone who's a foreigner, especially if you're a black woman or a black man or a woman of color, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, hey, like, what brings you here? I'm excited because I'm like, yo, you look like me. Especially when I first went to Korea, I was the only girl that looked like me in my area, and I was in a very rural area. So whenever I saw someone that looked like me, I was like, bring it in, let's hug it out, right? So I was surprised at how many people, foreigners, were not friendly, and would just, maybe they'd lived there for a long time and they just really didn't want to be bothered. I could get that, but they would just ignore you, and that was just something like, okay. And I was also surprised that the amount of people that were depressed in Korea, both foreigners and Koreans. But would mask it or cover it up, especially, saving face in Korea. With the foreigners, it just kind of looked like some people that they would just go home and they would finish work, go home, sit in a dark room, watch a movie. They wouldn't go out and socialize. And I've met tons and tons of people who did this. And that was what depression looked like for them, just kind of like isolating themselves. So those were two things that definitely surprised me when I was in Korea, and I had to combat depression myself in terms of like, okay, let me get out, let me meet people, because it is a very lonely place if you don't form a community when you're there. But it's hard to form a community because people are leaving and going, and it's hard to make real life long-term friendships. So that's something that really shocked me while I was there. And the last question that I'm gonna actually pose to you If you have a question about Korea, I want you to write it in the comments. That way that I can answer it for you, because there might be so many more questions. But I really want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on South Korea right now. Are you planning to go? Do you have friends who live there? Do you want to go see your favorite K-pop idol? Like, I want to know where you guys are. So the last question is yours, and you can ask me whatever you'd like, and I will answer it in the comments. I'll answer every question, no matter how embarrassing or in my business you are, I will answer it. I am so grateful for you guys. Thank you for taking the time to ask me questions. I appreciate you. Make sure you like this video, comment, subscribe, turn your little notifications on. All those things help me as a creator, but also it allows me to get my content out to you, and that's what I'm doing this for. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, you think my hair looks good, you like my makeup, whatever, let me know in the comments, and I would love to hear from you. You can also check me out on my socials below. TikTok is great. I don't know how long it's gonna be here. But also Instagram, that's where you'll see a lot of my travels and things like that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.